Elevated Marketing Chat. Today I get to talk about, one of my favorite topics, data. I always love to talk about data because data doesn't really lie. And, there's no like, do I like this? Do I not like this? It's just the numbers are what they are. So my name is Jennifer Denny. If this is your first time joining us, we do Elevated Marketing Chats once a month where we kind of deep dive into a subject, and then we usually have a blog post on it as well. So, if you want to make sure that you get the blog post, we do to put out a monthly newsletter. Couple different places you can sign up for it. You can head over to our website at elevatedmarketing.solutions and go to our blog section, or knowledge is what we call it. And you can sign up there. Or if you like LinkedIn, we certainly have a newsletter, same material over on LinkedIn as well. So I think at last count, we have over 20,000 people subscribed. So sometimes watching a video is not your jam and you'd rather see it in written format. So, certainly head over there. And sometimes metrics is not your jam either. So we try to take metrics and simplify them into ways that make it easier for you to understand. So, G4 has come around, and I don't think that's anywhere of a new subject. And I think lots of people have been talking about it. But what I want to talk about are the metrics that, are kind of our baseline metrics that we use for every client from G4. But certainly every client will have their own specific metrics in what matches for them and what their goals are. So the metrics we're going to go through today, we believe are the base metrics, and then you can kind of build from there. So I'll start off. The first one that I have is engagement rate. So that is brand new with G4. It's essentially the measurement of how engaged your traffic is. Google defines that as somebody who spends at least 10 seconds on your website, looks at more than 2 pages, and or completes a conversion. That is their definition of engagement. What I find kind of interesting about that, I always like to kind of read in between the lines, is so this is new. Google didn't have that metric. So in my brain, okay, well, they must see this as important. And perhaps it's a ranking factor over on SEO. And in the search results, we don't really know that. And it's not, Google doesn't really publish exactly what the ranking factors are. But if they add a new metric to G4, to me, that's a ding, ding, ding signal that we need to pay attention to this specific number. The other thing I find interesting too is it's a inversion of bounce rate. So let's say you have a 40% engagement rate, then your bounce rate is going to be 60%. But bounce rate doesn't mean the same thing in G4 anymore. It's defined differently. And so if you try to come across there, it's just the opposite of engagement in G4. In Universal, it would have meant that you came in, you scroll down perhaps a page and didn't click on anything. Inside of here, it's different. The other thing I think about with this is, with Google's definition of engagement rate, certain things like it says that you're considered engaged if you complete a conversion. Well, you define what a conversion is. And so part of that metric is your own definition of what a conversion is. And so, before we used to be able to say, oh, well, if your bounce rate is between 40 and 60%, you're good. Well, I don't think we're going to have universal type metrics like that Not that I really thought that that's how you should look at it anyways. I always felt like you should look at your own metrics and try to improve your own metrics. But with that little caveat that everybody is setting up their own what they consider a conversion, this could really make metrics kind of all over the board on what is a good engagement metric versus what is not. So you'll want to pay attention to that as, time goes along here and we start seeing people come up with these baseline metrics. As per usual, it might not relate to you directly. So the next metric that, we're paying attention to is scroll, which you could actually get scroll so you could see how far down the page that people are scrolling, with all kinds of coding that you could set out with Google Tag Manager. Now it's just a button click and saying that you would like to track it in G4. And that data is, really telling us, do people scroll at least 90% down the page? That would let us know that the page that we have is engaging enough that people are scrolling all the way down. But it's totally plausible that you might have a page where the call to action is up at the top. And so it's okay that they didn't scroll all the way down. Perhaps they clicked on something and moved forward. So as you can kind of see, like really understanding what these metrics are, it can kind of give you a different data story and give you different thoughts about your marketing if you don't understand exactly what those metrics mean. So another new metric is active users. So this metric actually tells us how many users are engaged. So with engagement rate, it's sessions, and one user could come back multiple times to the website, and that would be a new session. But active users is just based on the user. I know this stuff, it starts to get confusing because it's a lot of different stuff. That's why sometimes relying on an expert can make things super easy for you because you don't have to worry about it. Somebody else is worrying about it for you. But this metric kind of lets us see if people are coming back to the website, let's say 7 days later, or 14 days later, or 28 days later. So we know that people are coming back to the website multiple times. If they're not coming back to the website, it could be the content and what we have there. It could also just mean that we need to engage some remarketing tactics in order to bring people back. That could be ads or that could be email marketing. And so that metric really lets us know how engaged people are and if they're active on your website. So the next one is views. That metric is really the same thing as page views. They just decided to make a new name, kind of try to make it confusing. The only thing we really lost here is the ability to have unique views. Google's looking at that as all views should count. And so there is no unique metric anymore. And the last basic metric. So again, we do believe you should track lots of different metrics that are unique to your business, but these are the basic metrics, are conversions. These are the items that you determine on a website is the goal of your website. What do you want people to do? Do you want them to fill out a form? Do you want to make a phone call? Do you want them to download a certain PDF? Those are items that you should make as conversions. A lot has kind of changed with G4 though, and what gets credit on what counts as a conversion in different channels. So, before the very last thing that you did, so the very last channel that you were on was you Googled someone organically and then you picked up the phone and you've said that as conversion, that's what got credit. Now Google is using machine learning, and so it's just the nature of how things have had to evolve. based on technologies updating and not being able to track things as well as they used to. So now they're using machine learning, such things like Apple, like updating its tracking so that people, are opting out. So that tracking has kind of been lost. And so now Google is using machine learning on which particular channel gets credit. So it gets a little bit muddier, but I think it is better in the essence that we're not trying to say that the very last thing that you do should get all the credit, because really all marketing works together. So if you want to go to our website, the blog post will be up tomorrow, but it is everything, that we've kind of talked about today and a little bit more, and goes into some details. And again, join our newsletter, and you can get all of the different information that we put out there. So next time on September 14th, we are going to talk about is running ads renting your audience. And so what we're talking about there is, when you're running ads, you have audience coming in and you're paying for that audience. Are you potentially overpaying? Are you paying for, maybe audience you could have gotten from other resources? We'll dive into that and see if it's really just renting your audience, or is it in fact, driving what you want it to drive. So that will be on September 14th. So that is it for today. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and hopefully made it just a little bit simpler. I know, metrics is not everybody's jam, but it is certainly ours. All right, take care.